sounded a bit aggressive, didn't it? A word takeover. Especially after the fondling. You know, that happened before. Yes, it's really yes, Bob. Take a look, a good hard look, you know. Entering into the IRL in real life and continue now, lift off. Talking about lift off, actually, the toilets here are very impressive, aren't they? Have you seen the toilets? Yes. It's like going to space. I made a few, not notes, I just took some photographs because I found it a bit disturbing. I know you've read them too, but the middle loo it's got lots of text. I don't know if you can see my phone. You've all seen the loo, you've all seen it too. Things like little nuggets like I'm scared of claustrophobia. That's not the time to put the idea of claustrophobia into your mind as if I'm sitting in a confined space. And then my fear, also in big letters, some of them are in small writing, but you're too terrified to read that. My fear is that I'm getting old and not doing enough. I'm like, oh, me too. And then, shortly followed by especially big writing, I'm scared to die. Just a mini existential crisis, and then it might be back to turnips. So fully avant-garde turnaround experience. But it's worth checking out if you haven't had a chance to check out the conveniences. Do so before you leave. Do. So right. So let's have a look. What's this side? Don't worry, that was the other side. Vague ambition, I don't know what I was going to say earlier. None of that was said, don't worry. Now we've got the larger writings, which shorter. I'm really looking forward to introducing our book tag this evening, because it's David Parkin and the Wednesday Words Collective. For the last few years, Word, and also the NHS, you might also work for. Can you believe that? I know, it's a very inclusive organisation. As far as running Word, I direct a nationally unique arts and mental health service that doesn't exist anywhere else in the country, but it exists in Leicester. And if you want to know more about that, please do chat to me at the end or send me an email. The flyers for Word are on the table, so that email on the flyer goes directly to me if you want to know about anything. Any of this stuff more, just please spam me, and then it makes it more of an equal relationship, doesn't it? Because that's the name of this too. So Word and the NHS have been working with David Parkin for a number of years now and collaborating around his just ridiculously brilliant Delusions of Grandeur project. And he is disgustingly talented. His ability to just sort of say clever things all of the time, I find actually quite depressing, which is ironic considering the nature of my work. To tell you a bit more about him, he is an author, so you can see what I'm saying. He is an author, theatre maker, musician, and installation artist. No one likes to show off, Dave. His work is fiercely autobiographical, weird, wonderful, sublime, speculative, from his award-nominated children's book and musical, The Nose That Nobody Picked. But they did! They said it was very good, ironically. To David Parkin's Delusions of Grandeur, which we're going to have an extract from, or not an extract from, we're going to have a bit of an extract and then work responding to it. And it's an installation looking at the 4 months he spent under mental health section, suffering from a bipolar manic episode. He was the co-director of leading arts organisation Metro Boulet Dodo. If you haven't heard of them, they are a company that spans multidisciplinary art forms and toured and won awards internationally. He was their director and lead writer. Over August, Dave, you have worked, you know, it's better I'm telling you, he worked with members of the Wednesday Words Collective. We meet up online every Wednesday morning to develop new writing exploring the themes of this work. And the results really have been nothing short of beautiful. And we're going to hear some of it now. I think that it is important to say that David has been described by Stephen Fry. Yes, David has been described by Stephen Fry as charming, funny, and bracingly direct. It's very important to mention that. You have been warned. It is my great pleasure to present him now. Please, for a very big, warm Some-Antics welcome for David Parkin and the
What an introduction. I was going to plug the event, David Parkin's Delusions of Grandeur. It's on at De Montfort, it's in the Leicester Gallery, and it's opening next Saturday. And it looks at my 4 months. 4 months! under section from a plethora of mediums. So you can go to my alternative seclusion, which are kind of on the pictures there. And so seclusion is something where you're just chucked in a white room, basically. And I was chucked in a white room, and I thought, oh my God, this is horrendous. So I had a little notebook at the time, and I went to it and I drew up my alternative plans, and there was going to be murals and grass on the floor and nature sounds. And what was really nice is a while ago it was De-Stress Fest. Jim, he's not here anymore, but he came to me and he said, do you want to make something? And I thought, first up, I want to make my alternative seclusion. And that's where it kind of started. That was the genesis of the idea. So you can see that. You can listen to interviews with my families and friends about what it's like supporting someone, going through that. You can listen to songs I wrote and recorded on the ward, which are awful, really bad. I'm a pianist, sort of, but I could only get my hands on a guitar, and I recorded them when I was heavily drugged up. So I had this very kind of, before I started taking the drugs, before I let them give me the drugs, I had this very creative time, and I wrote these songs, but I recorded them after they gave me the drugs. So it's really, oh God, it's painful. And I don't know how to play the guitar, really. I'm teaching myself. No, I mean, my guitar playing almost like Lydia's. It's similar.
Only August, that's all.
Yeah. But the other thing is, there are text boards, just page-long text boards, running around the place, which describe weird moments on the ward, from getting sectioned to then falling madly in love with a fellow patient, to getting punched by a fellow inmate, to getting secluded, to escaping to the champagne bar. I mean, I'm particularly proud of that. Like, one guy escaped, and I said, where'd you go? And he just went, I just went to the pub. I was like, fuck that. I'm going to the champagne bar. Anyway, so there are these text boards, and obviously they're sort of they're writing, and that's what I did. I did some creative writing workshops with the Wednesday Word people, and we'll be having them on shortly. By the way, I was going to plug. I'm doing my clinical depression concept album show on the 13th of Friday the 13th of October, and we have a piano here, and I was going to play a song and play along while my Wednesday Words were doing it. Now, I was going to bring my own keyboard, but I don't want to bring my own keyboard to a Friday night and then go home to Nottingham. So Lydia sorted out my keyboard, but unfortunately, it's a piece of shit.
Thank you. So
we're not.
No trouble.
I saw it tonight and I thought, I'm just going to do a poem, and I'll read you one of the text boards. So the piano's staying there.
It's a lovely visual aid.
Yeah, there it is. I'm just going to start us off. Before we have our Wednesday Word, I'll give you a kind of idea of my kind of work. It goes from very silly to quite fucking depressing. So I'll start with two very quick poems. First one is called Never Stick Your Finger in a Cat. Never stick your finger in a cat, be it slim, Siamese, or black and fat. The type of feline is quite beside the fact. Never stick your finger in a cat. Thank you. Now to the depressing one.
That wasn't depressing.
This is called When I Was Gentle, When I Was Kind. Long ago, there was a time when I was gentle, when I was kind. Then one day I lost my mind and have forever since been running blind. So that now, with open eyes I find, I cannot see, hear, touch, or even taste the time when I was gentle, when I was kind. Thank you. I'm all right now. I wrote that when I was very miserable. Okay, so Wednesday word. We were talking about the themes of the piece, and unfortunately, not all of Wednesday word have been sectioned. I think maybe one or two. Anyway, so we decided to focus on big life events. Could be positive, could be negative, that have changed our lives. So we're going to start with. I need to take my glasses off. We're going to start with Sonia.
Yes.
And I remember my decline.
Woo!
I remember my decline, confusion, fear I'd lost my mind, not being able to escape the thought, the feelings, not eating, not sleeping, feeling it was too much to bear, pleading to God in desperate prayer, taking the pills, all 37, thinking I'd sleep my way to heaven. I remember changing my mind, not wanting to die, feeling bad, telling my dad. He phoned for an ambulance and we waited, both silently agitated. My dad said to the ambulance driver, "This is the second time, don't bring her back till she's better." I remember arriving at the hospital, drinking charcoal, blood test, the drip, being sick. My mum and dad visit, the anguish in their eyes, talking to the psychiatrist as she sympathised. I remember the taxi ride to Carlton Hayes, this strange and spacious place, for people suffering, struggling to cope, and hope. I remember hope.
Hello?
Hi.
I remember. I remember when I was born. I was feeling joyous and not at all forlorn. I had such fun every day. And I was delighted that I my words now could say. Then with running and jumping around, I was delighted now I could make a sound. I remember when I could walk, and with improvements I now could talk. I remember when I went to school. When I worked hard, I was no fool. Then I remember when I went to university one day. When we all football and other games could play. I remember my life has always been really good. And I've done everything I know that I should. I've done so many fun things. Sometimes I feel I could fly and I've got wings.
I'm in a field with a knife to my throat. I can't avoid the spider's web. It rubs against my legs a like comfort. Sometimes I wonder, why was I so scared? I want to walk towards those warm, white, virgin country houses. You know the ones where you'd imagine happiness grows tall like a Hyperion? Every time I walk closer, they become shy and recluse behind unkept bushes, creep farther away, too far to discern their curves, each weaving in warped circles, like waves when the wind crushes. I feel unattended, but there's no one I'd like to talk to. I'd just lie down and decompose right here. But how would the dog get home? Maybe she doesn't want to. I can only breed complacency in these fields. These seeds I plant and they refuse to flourish. And when it's all over, my dog bounds homewards and I drag my feet behind. Kicking up mud and memoirs, the spider's web still clinging, tired to my trousers. Then I'm almost home and I halt to look back, haunting, smirking, with a loss of innocence. The Vestal bleach houses reappear once more.
One of the things we kind of focused on was I remember, but then when I was sectioned, I was very lucky that my friends and my family came to visit me quite a lot. There's actually, I've mentioned a bit, and you should listen to my friends and family talk about that. So we started thinking about thank yous. Thank yous to people or ideas or things. So have we got Shirley? Come on, Shirley.
So just a few words of gratitude. You might have thank you. I thank you. I take none for granted. I thank you for the way you speak, for the many voices, for God's voice, and for the many choices I've been given, in spite of being locked away in darkness, where I could have been worked to my death. And I was close to death, dying inside my head. But still I live, and still I see. I thank you for the hope you give, for loved ones, for the sun that shines through darkness, for the wings of loss and pain that brought me to where I am. I thank you.
Yeah. We've got some mic.
That's erectile dysfunction. The mic.
I thought it was going to be.
That's perfect. That's perfect for me. I mean, as a short man, there's nothing worse than going on stage and the fucking mic is here. Can I just say, Sammy is a lot taller in life. On the photos, you look like a short man. I don't know if it's something about the cheeks. Like, Something taller than real life. Okay, so yeah, on the theme of thank yous, we got Chetan. There's something short and sweet.
Hello, I'm Chetan. Type of torture within the mind. I thought I would be that kind. Hopeless, sad, and nowhere to go. I still have a family even though.
Okay, we had a little bit earlier, but she's coming up again. We've got Jassia with Thank You to My Heart.
It's called My Doctor. My doctor feels for my heartbeat on my wrist, my neck, on my chest, stethoscope on my back. The heartbeat beat and beat pounding. It's just the sound of the valves in our hearts opening and closing, pumping blood around the whole body. Oxygenated blood has to reach all organs, all tissues, all cells in the whole entire body. Please say thank you to your heart, and if you don't, you'll probably die.
Oh, do we have a headliner for you? He's known around here, John Constantine, and John's doing a lovely poem about surviving, and I think it kind of really nicely sums up the people in the poems that have come before. So I've got to follow John Constantine. Do you realise that? This is John!
Yeah, this one's called Survivors, and it might sound a bit bleak, but if you listen on to the end, it's positive at the end. And it's positive in the sense, anyway, that whatever struggles we go through, we are all, in a sense, survivors. So it's positive, whatever the struggles we face. So here we go. It's called Surviving. My sister's life was derailed by my oldest sister dying. Sent her spinning and flying to the dark side of the moon. My friend Rob, who built my website, super intelligent, knowledgeable, well-rounded, beyond technology, yet super addicted to drugs. Shouldn't have been the shock that it was to find he'd taken his life. 100 other in-between extremes of those of us who survived to the other side of the darkness. Those of us still here, I surmise, are the vulnerable, invulnerable. Thank you.
This is what I'm talking about!
Just in this.
Okay. Okay. What I'll do then, we're just going to do a poem, but I won't do that. So, yeah, these are, I've got these books. You can buy one off me for £5, and these are like the textboards of moments on the ward in Delusions of Grandeur. They're also this mad notebook I kept at the time where I do my seclusion plans. And they're also like doctor's notes, which are strangely at odds with the rest of it. Like David walked around with pants on his head and 2 pencils up his nose. I tried to persuade him that this wasn't appropriate. Anyway, I did that because I was doing Blackadder. Anyway, in the ward meeting, I went in a ward meeting with a pair of pencils on my nose and underpants on my head. I thought I was being really clever and ironic. No one got it, and I was detained a good while longer. Anyway, I'm going to start you at the start. this is getting sectioned. I am outside their hotel screaming at my parents over and over again with lots of swearing. I tried to make them understand. I was going to do a reading of my children's book, The Nose of the Note That Nobody Picked. I had all sorts planned. I'd go to a second-hand shop, dress up silly, and get people to follow me to the art centre, only reaching the place when it was my time to go on and happily blowing smoke-filled bubbles using my vape. A concerned member of the art centre came to see me and sat with my parents as I gibbered about my fantastic ideas. Where have I got? Oh yeah. Yes. He left, and I assumed the reading was still going ahead. I phoned the art centre, and they told me that it wasn't because the artist was unwell. This infuriated me. During a dinner at my parents' hotel, where they'd come to stay because I was acting weird, apparently, I stepped outside to phone a friend. I told her I was going to write a blazing attack on Facebook about the art centre who chickened out of my experimental new children's book wave reading. My friend phoned my parents, and here we are, me shouting at them in the dark. That book is my intellectual property. And while I love you, Mum and Dad, I am my own person, and I can do or say whatever I like about it. I turn to my father and say the whole thing again, but with fucking every other word. I'm venomous. He looks a little afraid. I am intent on buying a bottle of wine and drinking it as I go home. My dad tries to stop me, and we scuffle, ending up on the floor. Eventually, I agree to get a taxi home with them, except the taxi doesn't go home, it goes to the hospital. Outside A&E, I make a hell of a scene. I'm angry and terrified. Two nurses finally get me inside. Things are explained in hushed voices, and I am led away from my parents and taken to a waiting room where I wait for 4 hours. Sorry this is going on. I'm wrapping up. At 2:15 a.m, I am seen by 2 men and a woman who explain they are psychiatrists and a social worker. They ask me stuff like, are you seeing things? No. Do you think people are watching you? Well, I do now. Do you think you have special powers? What? Do you think you're a special person? Now, this gets me going. I explained to them that we're about to enter a wonderful time of optimism. The world has been pretty awful of late, but that is changing. People are coming together. Jeremy Corbyn becoming party leader, for example. It has happened throughout history. There have always been times of great darkness, but the light always follows. We can see it in the stories we tell. I start my Star Wars analogy. We are at the end of Empire Strikes Back, but Return of the Jedi is on its way. And do I feel like a special person? Well, I guess I do, because The Nose That Nobody Picked is an agnostic parable that's going to change the world. Still available on Amazon. And no, I don't think that's unrealistic. Kids' books, man, get them when they're young. I imagine a terrorist reading it to his child and changing his mind about everything. Everything is going to be alright. As I say this, I start crying and then laughing. I can see it all, and why won't these people listen to me? They take notes and raise their eyebrows. Then they section me. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm taken to the Bradgate Mental Health Unit in Glenfield Hospital. I shouldn't be here. This is a mistake. This is madness. Thank you.